Symbols are everywhere, from big national and international spanning companies like Nike and McDonald's to local small businesses you see across the street. But have you ever thought about how symbols affect your daily life and the lives of people all around the world? That's what I want to take a look at today. So I started my thoughts on symbols when I started seeing one all around school on hoodies, shirts, and jackets. That being the Playboy bunny. The Playboy bunny was the symbol for the company Playboy, founded by Hugh Hefner in 1953. The company is known for its publication of pornographic materials, typically containing women with an audience of men. The company, over the years, has been involved in a myriad of scandals, including publishing nudes of women without their consent, the objectification of women for their race, gender, or sexuality, and their infamous Playboy clubs of the 60s and 70s, in which women were put in tight bunny suits and had to serve drinks to men. Now, over the years, Playboy has lost its popularity. Its magazines are no longer published, only available online, and their infamous Playboy clubs have not been popular since the 1980s. However, in recent years, their clothing line has become popular with teens of both genders. There are many reasons for this. One may be that women who wear them feel empowered, knowing that this symbol that once stood for their objectification, they are now using against that same objectification. Another could be that people just don't know what the symbol means and just think it looks cool. Or it could be worn by people who share the beliefs of the original company. Now, the question I'd like to pose to you is, which of any of these beliefs are okay in our modern society? On what measure should we judge them? Should we judge at all? Let's take a look at another symbol. Now, there are many more symbols much more controversial than the Playboy bunny, one being the swastika. The swastika, now mostly known for the Nazis and the Holocaust, is actually not, for a majority of its lifespan, did not hold this very sad meaning. For millennia, the symbol was used in many religions, such as Hindu, Buddhist, Jain, and Odistic cultures, as a symbol of well-being, the symbol originally coming from the language of Sanskrit. However, in the 1920s, racist and xenophobic groups like the Nazis took the swastika and twisted it, making it into this shape that you see now on the Nazi banner. What follows is something that needs no introduction. The Nazis, as a party, took over Germany and slaughtered millions of Jewish people, as well as other minorities and those with mental defects. This symbol that once stood for prosperity and good fortune now was demeaned and destroyed down to something that ruined the lives of millions of people. Now, the swastika is a case of something called a dual symbol. The meanings of both the original Hindu symbol and the Nazi interpretations by Jewish people are both very different, but they cannot be separated from the symbol. The way Jewish people interpret the symbol as a symbol of as something that shows the darkest days of their people is something that cannot be taken away from them. But at the same time, the Hindu as well as Jain and Buddhist peoples who view this as a symbol of their heritage and their culture that they had for many, many years before can also not be taken away from them. So, how in a world where we attempt to be unified and together, can we determine one interpretation of the symbol? Now, we don't have to look worldwide to find controversial symbols. We have one very much at home. That is the Confederate flag. The Confederate flag was originally created by a group of soldiers under the Confederate General Robert E. Lee during the American Civil War in the 1860s. After the war, when slavery was ended and the Confederacy lost, several groups of the descendants of these former Confederate soldiers used the flag as a memorial of these soldiers. As we moved into the 20th century, there were many African Americans as well as Northerners who viewed the symbol as a flag as something displaying treason as well as a time of severe oppression of people. However, at the same time, young Southerners were looking at the Confederate flag as something of a symbol of their Southern heritage and pride. Moving into the 1950s, you had a political party known as the Dixiecrats, which was in support of segregation of African Americans and other minority groups, taking in the flag as their symbol. However, at this same period of time, the flag was being integrated into a national culture. For example, in the famed show Dukes of Hazzard, where the General Lee Parr depicted a Confederate flag on top. Now, the flag once again entered into more controversy in the modern day when neo-Nazi and alternative right groups began to use the symbol in their rallies and disruptive marches. Now, how can the people who currently view this as a symbol of their heritage use it at the same time knowing that hate groups and those who attempted to oppress people were at its inception and its continuation within the popular sphere? And at the same time, how can we protect African Americans and other minority groups who see this symbol and are reminded of their oppression within the country? Now, you may all be asking yourselves, how does this affect you in your daily lives? Why does this matter? Well, the question I'd like to pose to you is, when symbols evolve and change, gaining and losing nuances over time, how should we decide if a symbol is socially acceptable or not? Well, I've come up with some points that I typically like to think of when trying to determine this for myself. Number one being how important a symbol is to a group of people. Now, let's take an early example. I already mentioned the swastika. This symbol holds an extreme positive importance to Hindu groups, but at the same time an extreme negative remembrance to Jewish people. Both of these interpretations are deeply rooted within these people's cultures. Therefore, trying to change the interpretation of this symbol for these people is not something that should be taken lightly or really done at all. However, on the other hand, you have symbols of brands and companies like the McDonald's and Nike logo shown before, where they can be easily changed with little consequence as they hold no real meaning to me. Oh, I apologize. The second point I like to look at is the longevity of the symbol. How long a symbol has existed, whether it's for millennia or a few years, is a huge factor in its importance to people. Now, you have on one hand symbols that have existed for a long time, like monarchical or symbols that represent religions, where they've existed for a long time, keeping a similar meaning. Therefore, they won't really change in that meaning. However, there are symbols that have only gained their interpretations recently, like the Black Lives Matter symbol of a raised fist, which only in recent years has gained this connotation after having others before it, as the movement has only arose within the 2010s. The final point I'd like to look at is the number and frequency of interpretations a symbol has. Now, there are symbols such as the rainbow, which has had many interpretations, such as peace, new beginnings, as well as LGBTQ+ equality over the years, that can easily have more symbols attached to it, meanings attached to it, as we move forward. However, something that only has one interpretation, is only really held one interpretation to it, is a pink ribbon, which is a symbol of the breast cancer awareness movement. And since the breast cancer awareness movement's inception, the symbol has not really changed in its meaning. Now, I'm going to tell you the truth. I don't know really how to make everyone feel safe and included. This is not an easy thing to think about. It's not even my job to. It's not my job. It's not the job of you, you as a person. It's not the job of one group, one government, one society. It's the job of everyone to decide together. So, will you decide with us? Thank you.